Nobody expected the WNBA season to explode before it even started. But the second a national ESPN analyst looked directly into the camera and suggested that the Indiana Fever actually played better without Caitlin Clark on the floor, the internet completely lost control. Fans froze. Creators erupted. And within minutes, social media turned into an all-out war. Because this wasn't just another bad sports take. This felt personal. After everything Caitlin Clark had done for women's basketball, the sold-out arenas, the record-breaking ratings, the millions of new fans flooding into the league, mainstream media personalities were now openly questioning whether the Fever needed her at all. But then came the moment that changed everything. A major sports outlet released advanced offensive data trying to defend head coach Stephanie White, and accidentally exposed her entire system instead. The numbers revealed something fans had feared for months. When Caitlin Clark gives up the basketball in Indiana's offense, she disappears. No movement, no screens, no aggressive actions, no Steph Curry-style chaos. Just standing motionless in the corner while the offense dies in real time. And suddenly, a terrifying question started spreading across the basketball world. Is the WNBA establishment secretly trying to turn the most electrifying player in women's basketball into a decoy? Because if the fans are right, then the Indiana Fever may already be sitting on the biggest coaching disaster of the entire season. The moment Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, the entire league changed overnight. This wasn't normal rookie hype. This was a full-scale sports phenomenon. Ticket prices exploded. Television ratings shattered records. Arena crowds doubled. Merchandise vanished from stores within hours. For the first time in years, casual sports fans who had never watched a single WNBA game suddenly knew every Fever score, every Clark stat line, and every highlight clip before breakfast. And that level of attention created something the league had never truly experienced before. Pressure. Massive pressure. Because while fans were celebrating Caitlin Clark as the future of women's basketball, parts of the media world seemed deeply uncomfortable with how quickly she became bigger than the league itself. Every conversation revolved around her. Every debate included her. Every headline featured her face. Some analysts embraced it. Others clearly didn't. That's when the criticism quietly started building behind the scenes. They called her too ball dominant, too flashy, too aggressive, too heliocentric. Critics claimed the offense relied on her too much. They argued Indiana needed more balance. They insisted the Fever would become more dangerous if other players handled the ball more often. At first, fans ignored the noise, because Clark kept producing. But then something changed once Stephanie White fully took control of the system. Fans expected fireworks. White had watched Clark dominate college basketball under Lisa Blutter at Iowa. She understood how devastating Clark could be in transition, in movement, and in space. Many believed White would build the most explosive offense in women's basketball around her superstar guard. Instead, fans started noticing a disturbing pattern almost immediately. Every time Caitlin Clark passed the ball, the offense froze. At Iowa, Clark never stopped moving. The second she gave up the basketball, screens appeared everywhere. Teammates scrambled to free her for another shot. Defenders panicked trying to track her movement around the floor. But in Indiana, possession after possession showed Clark drifting toward the corner and standing completely still while teammates ran stagnant half-court actions away from her. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Clips comparing Iowa's offense to Indiana's system started flooding YouTube, TikTok, and X overnight. The contrast was brutal. At Iowa, constant motion, backdoor cuts, pin-down screens, relentless off-ball chaos. In Indiana, standing, waiting, watching. Some fans even started calling it basketball prison. And the more those clips spread online, the more independent creators started questioning whether Stephanie White's system actually fit Caitlin Clark at all. That's when mainstream media finally stepped in. But instead of addressing the criticism honestly, they declared war on the fans themselves. The situation officially exploded the second The Ringer published an article mocking independent basketball creators and dismissing fan criticism as YouTube slop. That single phrase instantly poured gasoline on an already raging fire. because fans weren't just criticizing random possessions anymore. They were accusing Stephanie White of fundamentally misusing the biggest superstar women's basketball had seen in decades. And instead of calming the situation down, the media accidentally made it infinitely worse.
Why?
Because hidden inside the article was a synergy data chart comparing Caitlin Clark at Iowa versus Caitlin Clark in Indiana. The article's goal was simple: prove that Clark played off the ball in college too. Defend Stephanie White. Silence the criticism. But the moment fans actually studied the numbers, everything backfired catastrophically. Because the data revealed something absolutely devastating. Under Lisa Blutter at Iowa, Caitlin Clark's off-ball role was built around movement. More cuts to the basket, more catch-and-shoot opportunities, more screen actions, more motion-based offense. Every possession was designed to keep defenses terrified of where Clark might appear next. But under Stephanie White, those numbers collapsed. Off-ball movement dropped dramatically. Cuts disappeared. Screen actions vanished. Catch-and-shoot opportunities plummeted. And suddenly fans realized the terrifying truth. Caitlin Clark wasn't struggling because she couldn't play off the ball. She was struggling because Indiana's offense barely used movement at all. That realization detonated across social media. Basketball creators began posting side-by-side film breakdowns exposing the difference between Iowa's system and Indiana's stagnant offense. And the clips looked horrifying for Fever fans. At Iowa, defenders chased Clark endlessly through screens like a nightmare they couldn't escape. In Indiana, Clark often became a stationary decoy standing frozen near the three-point line while the offense slowly died possession after possession. The Steph Curry comparison only made the backlash even more brutal, because analysts kept claiming Clark should learn to play more like Stephen Curry off the ball. But fans immediately fired back. Steph Curry never stands still. He runs defenders into exhaustion. He weaponizes movement. He destroys defenses without even touching the basketball. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was being parked in the corner, like she wasn't the most dangerous shooter on the court. And once fans saw the numbers proving it, the trust in Stephanie White's system started collapsing in real time. Just when fans thought the controversy couldn't get any worse, ESPN walked directly into the fire. During a national television segment, analyst Laurencia Moton made a statement that instantly sent the basketball world into absolute chaos. She claimed the Indiana Fever looked more diverse offensively without Caitlin Clark dominating the basketball. For a few seconds, the internet genuinely couldn't believe what it had just heard. Then the backlash exploded. Fans flooded comment sections. Creators started emergency live streams. Clips of the segment spread across social media at lightning speed. Because to Fever fans, this wasn't just criticism anymore. It sounded like mainstream media was openly trying to convince people that Indiana was better without the player who had completely transformed the franchise. And then came the stats. The exact numbers ESPN never wanted fans to focus on. With Caitlin Clark on the floor last season, Indiana's winning percentage skyrocketed. Offensive efficiency jumped dramatically. Net rating became one of the best in the league. Pace, spacing, and shot creation all improved. Without her, the offense dropped back toward mediocrity. The Fever became slower, less explosive, less efficient. The advanced metrics completely destroyed the narrative within hours. There was no mathematical argument supporting the idea that Indiana played better basketball without Clark. None. And that's when fans began realizing something much bigger was happening behind the scenes. Because the comments from ESPN analysts sounded almost identical to the philosophy Stephanie White had been quietly pushing for months. More versatility, more ball movement, less heliocentric offense, more players involved. Suddenly, fans connected all the dots. The media wasn't just defending Stephanie White. They were repeating her entire coaching philosophy on national television. And once people realized that, the fear inside Fever Nation became very real. Because many fans now believed Indiana was intentionally trying to reduce Caitlin Clark's control of the offense, despite overwhelming evidence proving she was the engine making everything work. That realization created total panic online. Some fans accused the coaching staff of overthinking basketball. Others claimed the organization was trying too hard to prove Clark wasn't bigger than the system. And the most furious critics started calling it the greatest misuse of superstar talent in modern women's basketball. But the nightmare wasn't over yet, because once the Steph Curry comparison returned to the conversation again, the entire media narrative completely fell apart. Analysts kept insisting Clark should embrace a Curry-style role off the ball, but fans immediately exposed the flaw in that argument. Steph Curry's greatness comes from non-stop movement. He sprints through screens, loops around defenders, creates chaos every second he's off the ball. Golden State's entire offense is built around making Curry impossible to track. But Indiana? Fans pointed out that Clark often spent entire possessions standing still in the corner while teammates struggled to create offense without her. No motion, no chaos, no pressure on the defense, just silence. And the more fans studied the film, the uglier Stephanie White's system started to look. At this point, the controversy stopped feeling like a basketball debate. It became a full-scale civil war between the fans and the media establishment. Every sports show suddenly had an opinion about Caitlin Clark. Every podcast clip turned into a battlefield. Every Fever possession was now being dissected frame by frame online. And the deeper fans looked into the situation, the angrier they became. Because many started noticing what they believed was a disturbing pattern from mainstream sports media. First, critics questioned whether Clark's college success would translate. Then analysts left her off major player rankings. Then came non-stop debates about whether she was overhyped. And now, some television personalities were openly suggesting her team functioned better without her. To Fever fans, it felt unbelievable. How could the same networks using Caitlin Clark's face to promote the WNBA also spend so much time diminishing her impact? That contradiction became impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Stephanie White found herself trapped directly in the center of the storm. Every interview she gave started going viral. Every quote was analyzed. Every coaching decision became headline material. Fans began accusing her of trying too hard to prove herself as a basketball genius, instead of simply unleashing her superstar player. And then one brutal comparison started spreading everywhere online. Fans compared Stephanie White to Doc Rivers. Not as a compliment. Critics argued that Doc Rivers built his reputation coaching elite talent while often receiving more credit than deserved. Now angry Fever fans were claiming White was heading down the same path, receiving endless media protection while the offense visibly struggled in front of everyone watching. The pressure started becoming suffocating. Independent basketball creators kept releasing breakdown after breakdown, exposing stagnant possessions where Clark disappeared from the offense entirely. Some clips showed Clark touching the ball once before standing motionless for nearly the entire possession. Others compared Iowa film to Indiana film side by side. The contrast looked terrifying. At Iowa, constant motion, energy, fear from defenses. In Indiana, stillness, predictability, confusion. And as those clips went viral, something even more dangerous started happening for the Fever organization. Fans stopped blaming only the system. Now, they were questioning the motives behind it. Some believed the coaching staff genuinely thought reducing Clark's on-ball dominance would help the team long-term. Others feared something much worse. That parts of the basketball establishment were uncomfortable with one player becoming bigger than the league itself. Whether true or not, the perception alone became a disaster. Because once fans believe a superstar is being held back intentionally, trust disappears immediately. And now the entire WNBA world was heading toward opening night under an avalanche of pressure unlike anything the league had ever seen before. Every camera would be watching. Every possession would be analyzed. Every mistake would become viral content within seconds. And deep down, everyone inside Indiana knew the truth. If the offense struggles early, the backlash against Stephanie White could become completely uncontrollable. Now, everything comes down to one game, one night, one national spotlight. Indiana Fever versus Dallas Wings. Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers. And suddenly, this isn't just a season opener anymore. This has become a public trial for Stephanie White and her entire coaching philosophy. Because after weeks of controversy, after non-stop criticism, after ESPN debates, viral breakdowns, and social media warfare, the fans are no longer watching Caitlin Clark alone. They're watching Stephanie White, watching every substitution, every offensive set, every possession where Clark gives up the basketball. And the pressure now feels absolutely suffocating. Because if Clark dominates while controlling the offense, the critics will explode with validation. Fans will immediately demand more freedom, more pace, more aggression, more ball control in Clark's hands. But if the offense stalls again, if Caitlin spends entire possessions standing motionless in the corner, if Indiana struggles to score while their superstar disappears from the action, then the backlash could become catastrophic. And deep down, everyone around the organization knows it, because this debate has already grown far beyond basketball strategy. Now it's emotional. Fans genuinely believe they are watching one of the greatest offensive talents in women's basketball history being restrained in real time. That's why this game feels dangerous. Not just important, dangerous. Because the second Indiana's offense looks stagnant under the national spotlight, the internet will erupt instantly. Clips will flood social media within minutes. Creators will tear apart every possession. ESPN segments will get replayed endlessly. And Stephanie White will become the center of one of the biggest coaching controversies the WNBA has ever seen. But there's one final twist making the situation even more explosive. If Caitlin Clark succeeds despite the system, the criticism may become even louder. Because then fans will start asking the most terrifying question of all. How unstoppable could Caitlin Clark become if Indiana actually built the offense completely around her strengths? And honestly, that question might be the one thing the basketball establishment never wanted fans to start asking. Because now the pressure isn't just on the Fever anymore. It's on the entire WNBA media machine. Saturday changes everything. And if this experiment fails under the brightest spotlight in women's basketball history, the rebellion against Stephanie White's system may only be beginning. Now the entire basketball world wants answers. Was ESPN actually defending Stephanie White? Or did they accidentally expose the biggest problem inside the Indiana Fever organization? Because after all the numbers, all the film breakdowns, all the controversy, one thing has become impossible to ignore. Whenever Caitlin Clark controls the offense, Indiana looks dangerous. But whenever she disappears into the corner, the entire fan base starts holding its breath. So now we want to hear from you. Does Caitlin Clark need the ball in her hands more? Is Stephanie White overcomplicating the system? Are the media narratives becoming completely disconnected from reality? Or are fans overreacting to a bigger long-term plan? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. And don't hold back. Because this season could completely change the future of the WNBA. If Indiana dominates, Stephanie White silences everybody. But if the offense collapses under pressure, the backlash against the system is going to become absolutely explosive. Subscribe for more breakdowns, more behind-the-scenes drama, and more uncensored coverage the mainstream media refuses to talk about. Because the war over Caitlin Clark's future has officially begun. And this story is only getting more intense from here.